Welcome back to the It's Bigger Than Me podcast. I'm your host, Molly Trotter Gomez. I'm really excited for you to meet a very special person to my husband and I. And I'm going to start it off like this. He has quite literally been such a godsend and blessing and miracle worker when it comes to credit optimization and what he has done for our family. And even outside of that, his story of what he has overcome, walked through, the mindsets, the lifestyle, everything. You are going to be inspired and you're going to want more information. I'll tell you that. And all the links are below. So I'm just going to start it that way because, Danny, we are so grateful for everything that you have done for my husband, myself, how you've shifted our perspectives when it comes to credit, and just bringing a lot of truth into an industry where there can be a lot of manipulation and like darkness and just misinformation, really, I guess is the best way to put it. But before we dive into all that juicy stuff, because I know people are going to be like, tell me more. I need this like right now. Tell us a little bit about your background and your story and how you even got into this space.
First of all, thank you so much for having me, Molly, and I appreciate your kind words. So my story, well, I did definitely. It wasn't always like this. I didn't always have the right information, and I didn't always do the right things the right way. Um, as a kid, I wound up hanging out with the wrong people, getting involved with the wrong things, drugs, gangs, even got incarcerated, trouble with law. And it was a struggle at a young age. I actually ran away from home at 9 years old and decided to, let an outlaw biker gang be my family. And that didn't turn out too good, but there was a lot of trauma unrelated to my parents. My parents are great people to this day. They're still together, but things happen to kids and just makes us do crazy things. And it went on for decades. It was a vicious cycle. And then on October 8th, 2012, I got clean and sober and adopted a formula of trusting God, cleaning house, and helping other people. And I've stayed clean and sober ever since. And I have an amazing life today because of that. Today, it's crazy. I've had several businesses. I mean, with an eighth grade education, you know, I've had several businesses, and um, one was a TV, radio, and internet marketing business for the drug and alcohol treatment industry, ironically. And it went south. The government was changing the laws for the treatment centers, and those were my clients. And I wound up in a pickle with debt and people that owed money and a business that was not sustainable anymore. So I had to figure out how to restructure and manage that debt, get my score good, and I followed everything that we are taught in the American credit system, and it was not good information. I had above 700 credit score and I wasn't getting approved for credit cards or lines of credit for my business, even with perfect payment history. So that kind of is what was the fuel or the seed for black belt business strategies, and the way I was able to help you is I found myself in a position being sober. It's been 13 years now, and it was probably 8 years ago when I had the thought, had the thought of drinking again because everything was coming, you know, late notices and debt and just, you know, just kind of spiraling with thinking, man, I thought I had this figured out and now I'm losing this business, I'm losing everything. And I did. But I had a thought, an epiphany that one of my friends, I called him and I said, look, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I'm losing my mind here. And he said, how can you be a black belt in the most difficult martial art that there is and let this little situation, overcome you?
Mm.
And it gave me an idea. So I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I teach and I train mixed martial arts at night at the end of my day job. I also help a lot of people in recovery too. And both of those are hobbies. That's what I do for spirituality and for free. During the day, I help people with credit and finance. And black belt business strategy. So, the website is blackbeltbs.com, and we really wanted to kind of make a play on that BS right? So we could use it later on for a lot of different things, like uh, belief systems, business strategies, going from barely surviving to becoming sober and being successful. So the
Amazing.
BS, all the good BS that you need without the one BS you don't, which is all over the internet, right? Today, we have a lot of the BS you don't want all over the place today. And as you kind of alluded to, the trust factor is huge, that is affecting everybody today, especially with credit and finance. It's so important. So with this business and the black belt mindset, I decided to reverse engineer the denial letters I was getting. And I started to call lenders and say, hey, look, before I send you my tax returns, my bank statements, my credit report, and we start going through this 2, 3 week process, for you to just tell me I got too many inquiries, so I got denied, or I have too high balances, or I didn't claim enough on my tax return, or I have a UCC lien, any number of things. I tried to get as much information as I could through lender logic, not credit theory, not lending theory, but logic, and then I put together a process that I was able to test. And then I started getting approved. Lo and behold, I started getting approved. Then I started helping my friends, my family members. And once I had, several case studies, then now I have over 35. I basically started a business. And now here we are today. I have over 3,500 entrepreneurs, business owners, and consumers alike that we've helped. So that's kind of the nutshell version of the story.
Yes. No, there's so many good things in there that I want to just touch on in case people missed it. First of all, he said he has an eighth grade education. Okay. So everybody that thinks they need all this documentation in order to go do something that is significant to help people, exactly. No, you don't. Some areas of expertise do require that, but you found a hole, you reverse engineered it, and then you started being able to just get around these rules, these garbage rules that they have in the credit world that honestly I really believe are a scam. Like they just get you in this bind and it's almost like impossible to get out until you find the right people. I myself, I've done things like credit repair. This isn't credit repair that we're talking about, but I have gone down that route. I've had friends and family go down that route, and it's literally just dumping money into something that never works. Until we came upon Danny, and he optimizes credit, which is different because he is actually getting into the system. And there's a bunch of different ways that Danny can be able to help you. This is just the one my husband and I went. And a little testimony. And what was it like? 60 days or less, maybe less. 150 points. Our credit shot up. We were able to get a new car, which we needed. We were able to move into a new place that's 3 times the size of our old one that we needed. Able to get a credit card. So many things opened up for us when there was, I feel like it was maybe even like a couple months earlier from knowing you. I was like, this isn't even possible. There's no way. In a matter of like, I don't even know how long, there's no way because you just feel like you're under this wave and you keep getting hit and you can't come up for air until you find somebody like Danny and you were like air bubble. We were like, wait, I think there's hope. Wait, I think we can do something. And then lo and behold, very quickly, I felt like I blinked my eye and I was like, wait, hold on a second. 150 points, things opening up. Oh my goodness. And so, I would love to be able to hear because you've had quite the past. Eighth grade knowledge, basically. Like you never graduated past eighth or never got past eighth grade. Drugs, alcohol, gangs. You came through that. I love how you just described how BS on the end of black belt. What was it? Black
Business
belt
business strategies is the website of the business, but we use black belt BS to,
Black belt BS. So you can
yeah,
play on that word. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. But talk about how you like, I mean, you had this moment where you started to reverse engineer something that just kind of was off to you. You were like, something's off here. I'm gonna go digging. What spurred you to like really get in there and like dig for that?
So it's interesting because I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking business, business, business. And my buddy, who's also in recovery, who's talking me off the ledge basically, when he brought up being a black belt, it I thought about it. So jujitsu is very unique in the martial arts sense. It's not something that you can watch on YouTube, read a book. I'm not I'm not discounting other martial arts. I've done a lot of martial arts, taekwondo, karate, American Kempo. I've done a lot of fight, boxing, Muay Thai. I love them all. But jiu-jitsu is a thinking man sport. It's like playing chess. One of the things about Brazilian jiu-jitsu that is changing the landscape of our world today is you have to get put in bad situations. You have to get choked. You have to get your arm took. You have to get your back took. You have to get beat up basically, but really put into a position where you have to figure out how to get out of it. And that's what makes people that do jujitsu so interesting. We have, I'll give you one example. You can walk into any Muay Thai or boxing MMA gym, and you're going to see a certain type of body that's there. Not everybody can do that type of sport. But if you walk into any good jiu-jitsu school like ours, A-Team Jiu-Jitsu over in Garden Grove here in Orange County, California, you'll see all walks of, you'll see nerds, geeks, people that you're like, wow, I can't even believe that person walking down the street. I wouldn't even think how deadly and dangerous they are
Mm,
because it's a matter of using your body and thinking 5 moves ahead of your opponent. So it's built for you, the smaller person, to be able to overcome the bigger person.
mm.
And that being said, you have to get put into bad situations and figure out how to get out of them. And that's how you become good. There's no elevator, there's no shortcut. Well, with the denial letters, I started thinking I can do the same thing. I'm in a bad situation right now. So what do I do if I'm in a chokehold? And I use this analogy, Molly. The white belt, because people might think, well, what does black belt and martial arts have to do with business? Well, I use this analogy. The white belt asks master or sensei, how do I get out of this chokehold I'm in? The black belt will ask, how do I keep from getting into this chokehold in the first place? And
Mm.
right now, America is in an interest rate chokehold, and they don't know how they got there, but I do. And it's from this experience. It's from thousands and thousands. Getting a black belt is just being a white belt who never gave up through all the struggles. And thousands, countless hours on the mat, days, every day, for weeks, for months, for years. Well, I've had that same experience with doctors, dentists, lawyers, surgeons, Bautistas at Starbucks, restaurant owners, you name it, every type of scenario. And kind of to your point earlier, everybody's situation is different. Everybody's situation is different. So I had to reverse engineer through all kinds of different scenarios and come up with a solution for that particular client and that particular set of needs. So, for example, you live in a house and the people next door to you have a house too, but their credit and financial situation is totally different than yours. And that's the same with businesses. There's no cookie cutter process. Like you talked about credit repair, there's cookie cutter processes out there to dispute, to do all this stuff, debt relief, all cookie cutter. Let's just take all your debt, let's negotiate it. Well, that hurts people more than it helps them. So with this scenario, I use the analogy of you wouldn't drive a car from San Diego, California to upstate New York with your wife and kids or husband and kids in the car without having a mechanic looking at least a couple of things on the vehicle to make sure you'd get there safely, right? The same concept applies or should apply to credit and finance. You shouldn't get into a 15-year or 30-year or 5-year term loan with an interest rate that you may not be able to handle in 3 or 4 months, or you might find yourself in the same bad situation. So I like to use that analogy. Same with the trust factor. You want to find a mechanic you can trust to look at your vehicle. Once you do, you're not going anywhere else. There's just too many scam artists out there. Same concept applies here. You really want to find somebody you can trust that can look at your credit, look at your finances, look at what your goals are as a business owner, and then help you get there.
I love the car analogy. It's so good because you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't take a road trip that
No,
long and not have something be looked at. And one of the things that I love about this conversation is, again, we get taught, we get put in the system. This is just what we know, so we just keep repeating the cycle. But at some point, somebody has to be a cycle breaker. At some point, somebody has to say, you know what, this isn't working, or I don't like the results, or something needs to change. And so that's essentially what you did, obviously. And you've had incredible success. Like you said, I think over 3,500 people that you've been able to serve and help in this space, which is like just getting started. I mean, honestly, when people find out about this, Danny, you're going to be very busy. Black Belt Business Strategies can be very busy because it's been such a, again, a blessing for my family and then our friends and family that we've introduced to it because they've felt that wave that just kept hitting them. But it's like we get to look at this, right? Like, I mean, unfortunately, this world, what we're in, everything hinges on credit. Things that we really need, cars, homes, loans. We have different ideas. It all hinges on credit. And I've had plenty of years where my credit has been absolutely horrible up until it's met Danny. And so it's been absolutely garbage because I didn't have good spending habits. I was definitely overutilizing all those things because I just didn't really care or didn't even know. Now that I'm older, I'm like, why did I do that? So like I love that they're in a sense, not completely. It's almost just like a good reset button of like, now I know, let's do better.
Yeah. You know, there's I share a 5-step process that I can share pretty quickly in under a minute right now. One, you can't have more than 4 new hard inquiries in the last 6 months. Two, each of your open credit cards on the credit report, not in your app, but on the credit report, should be under 33% utilization. Three, you can't have too thin of a credit profile. Four, you can't have more than 2 new open accounts in the last 12 months. And five, one of your open accounts should be at least 10 years old, if not older. And if you don't have one, guys, there's ways to add one to your report legally. If you address those 5 areas before you apply to a lender, you're more likely to get approved for a higher limit or loan amount, better payment terms, and a lower interest rate. And if you don't address it, you'll get the opposite, right? I just wrote a best-selling book on Amazon called Approval Hacks of a Credit and Funding Black Belt. And it's the proven strategies. I talk about that. I talk about, those 5 steps, how credit lends to like credit, and then what the ideal credit profile looks like, along with a lot of other strategies that I share in that book. The 3,500 people you talked about, that's strictly been referrals only.
Wow.
You're one of the first platforms I'm getting on to really scale this, to try to open up this information to America. Now I've got 3,500 referrals only. Literally, we've done no marketing, none. That's how busy we've been. But now it's time. I feel like there's so many good people. I see it in states all across the United States. I get on a Zoom with the business owner. Dan, I'm in $300,000 worth of MCA loan debt. Daily and weekly payments are coming out of my account, and I don't know what to do. I'm about to lose my business. Or Dan, I'm in a high interest rate auto, and it's killing me. I've already paid 20 grand, and it's been 5 years, and it was a $20,000 vehicle, and I still owe 20 grand. What do I do? So to your kind of point earlier, they didn't teach us this stuff in school. And mom and dad said, son, go to the bank, put 300 bucks in the bank and borrow against it to build your credit. That's called a secured credit card. In the book, I talk about it. Worst advice I ever got, mom. Banks don't like secured credit cards. That immediately tells the software that I'm a high risk category. I'm not credit worthy to get a credit card. I have to borrow for myself. Now, 20 years ago, mom and dad, that might have been good advice, but not today. Not with AI, Google, software. Look, in the book, I also talk about if you think the credit corporations, the government, the system is conspiring against you and they want you to fail, you're probably right. Who
Yes.
benefits if you don't understand these few simple steps before you apply to get a loan? Who benefits if you're stuck in high interest rate debt? Well, not the Culligan man. Maybe the people that are not teaching our kids that are 18 years old. What's the first thing they got to do when they turn 18? I got to get a car. I got to get an apartment. I have to get a job. Listen, all of which they're looking at your credit today. Even jobs, they're looking at your credit now. So we should have been taught this in school, but we're not. And I scratch my head and I say, too many good people are not getting approved. I've seen it. And if they just knew a few simple things, they'd be in 6% interest rate versus 26% interest rate. Or on a mortgage, instead of a 10%, a 6%. Molly, we're talking about tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings if you just made a few adjustments before you apply to a lender. So
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's so many gems that you have dropped on this. I hope people are picking it up because you've dropped some really great things to check and see what is it that I have. And there'll be some great links below that you can click to be able to get connected more in with Coach Dan, his team, some really great resources to get your credit like just in a better state. Like you said, there's so many people that are just suffering because it's like that's what the world is ran on. And maybe we made like a bad choice here, or we're getting yeah, screwed over there. I mean, you name it. And so it really is an industry that there's so many crooks out there. And I say that intentionally. There are
Yeah.
crooks. But I'm so grateful for people like you that are like, you know what? There has to be something better. There has to be something more. And that's where really great just businesses, ideas, that's what people want to connect to. That's why I wanted to bring you on the podcast because I'm like, not only have you been a blessing to us, but you're just a good salt of the earth human being that is like, I want to be able to see people win and 3,500 people off of referrals only. Like I said, I'm going to stand by what I said. This thing is about to blow, which is amazing for everybody because everybody wins in this case. So we only have kind of like a handful of minutes left. Is there anything else you want to like wrap on and then be able to let people know how to get in touch with you if they're saying like, you know what? He's making a lot of sense. I think I might need to reach out so I can get my stuff looked at.
Yeah, so what you have in the show notes, they can click on a link there and get the a free PDF. There's a free 5 fast moves that talks about what I shared earlier, and it'll kind of break that down for you. You can get that for free. It'll also allow you, if you're a business owner right now and you're saying, you know what, that's the guy. I need to talk to him right now. I'm in a bad situation. I need to know because this isn't just about credit. It's about optimizing your credit and your finances and your story the right way before you submit to a lender, telling them what they want to hear to give you the approval, number one. But a lot of times we don't understand that we have what they want, but we don't know how to articulate it the right way. And again, if you don't do that the right way, you're getting denied, and it could cost you your business. So, yes, go to the show notes, click on the link there, get your free PDF. Our website is blackbeltbs.com, and you can call our number there, get a free 15-minute discovery call. I would just leave you with this. It's so important. If I've said anything today, the takeaway is find someone you can trust to
Mm.
look at your credit and look at your finances. It's an intimate thing, guys. I understand the stigma is so crazy, but in my book, I call it innocent ignorance. We weren't taught this stuff. It's not your fault, but you have to have it like a doctor. If you have some kind of ailment that you're even embarrassed to talk about, okay, that's great. Don't talk about it to everybody, but you got to go to the doctor and you got to be honest with them in order for them to come up with a solution for you. Same thing here. We got to diagnose your situation, show you how to fix what was, not done right, and then get you across the finish line. Some people may be as quick as you, Molly, and your husband, 60 days. Some might be a 6 month out thing. But the best thing to do is find someone you can trust that can guide you in the right direction.
Yes, and I'm putting my stamp of approval on that, and I know that means a lot because you guys know I bring people on this show all the time, and every single one of them I have my stamp of approval on. Every time I'm like, go connect with them, is because I've had in-depth experiences, conversations, relationships where I know that you're in good hands, and that's why I do that. That's why I have these people come on like Coach Dan because they are making an incredible impact. Some specifically on my own life or others, I just know they are, and their voice just needs to be amplified. So you said it earlier that this is one of the first like podcasts or shows that you've come on. I'm honored. I'm super excited for you and your company, Black Belt Business Strategies, and how it's growing and expanding. I'm excited for anybody that's listening or people that are listening and watching, and you're like, oh, I know somebody who's trying to work on that. You need to send them this podcast ASAP, and then all the information is in the show notes where they can get clicked in. But really quickly, just to make sure that people know, it's not only credit optimization that you can help them with. There's like stuff with loans and different things that you can do too. Can you touch on that briefly? Because there's
Sure,
there's a
absolutely. I'm
bigger
glad you brought
suite.
that up. Yeah, so the optimizing the finances part is critical because we help people get approved for mortgages, outside the box type mortgages where, people aren't getting approved through their normal channels. I got a doctor, for example, that's been at Bank of America for 22 years. And he said, Dan, surely if Bank of America, who I banked with for 22 years, won't approve me for a $500,000 equipment loan, no one will. Not true. Nothing could be further from the truth. There's thousands of lenders that would love to lend a doctor $500,000 for an equipment that they need for the medical practice. So, equipment loans, business loans, working capital loans, business credit cards that don't report to personal credit. One of the key strategies I teach all my clients, kind of an extra layer of protection. Contrary to what they tell you on social media, they are going to look at your personal credit to approve you for a business credit card. But you'll find all this. If you go to our YouTube channel, Black Belt Business Strategies, we have social media everywhere. We're on LinkedIn, but blackbeltbs.com is our website where you can get plenty of information. You can click start here and get some info to, kind of cater to what your situation is. And just give us a call and set up a free 15-minute discovery call. One of our agents can talk with you and see if you fit for an assessment with one of our strategists. But yeah, equipment loans, mortgages, commercial loans, any kind of funding you can imagine where somebody pulls your credit, auto loan, you want to refinance a high interest rate auto, any of those things we can help with. Again, it's not about the credit and the finances only, it's about optimizing. And our tagline is be 5 moves ahead. Be 5 moves ahead. And this transformation is not just for credit and finances, it's for a way of life. If you can start to think this way in everything you do, personal relationships, business, hobbies, sports, you will get better results.
I love that. Be
I
five
don't
moves.
believe in good luck or bad luck, Molly. I believe in good preparation and bad preparation.
That's a great way to end. Yes. There's, and I'll even rephrase it. This is how I look at it too. You could either be proactive or reactive. I'm always a big fan of being proactive.
Yes.
There's plenty of times you're going to be reactive because there's things out of your control. But if you can and you have the opportunity to be proactive, why wouldn't you? So be 5 moves ahead. Get into Danny's environment. Long story short, like I said, my stamp of approval in 60 days. 150 points for us, but everybody varies. But it's worth looking into because this is somebody that we trust, somebody that we've trusted to share this with other people. That's why I'm sharing this with you now because I know so many people are in that bind. So let's make a move to get out of that bind and just trust the process because Danny, you and your team have just been absolutely incredible. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Everything to get connected in with Coach Dan and his team is all below. I know he mentioned the website blackbeltbs.com, all over Black Belt Business Strategies, all over social media. But thank you for just your willingness of, you got out of an old life into a new one. And now this life that you're in is just so fruitful by helping people get out of just get out of their own way and get
It's a
into
great way to make a
better
living
days.
helping people expand and grow their businesses and give them the information that every single person is like, wow, I had no idea about that. Oh my God, that makes
Pretty
so much
much.
sense now.
Pretty much.
So yeah, it's great. So, well, thank you so much for having me, Molly. It's been a pleasure and an honor. Always a pleasure to see you, and thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on the It's Bigger Than Me podcast. If this episode spoke to you, go share it. Someone else needs the breakthrough that you just had. And don't forget to tag me on social media. I would love to reshare what spoke to you the most on this episode. Your story is meant to be mentorship to somebody else, it's meant to move others. Don't keep it quiet. Go lead with it. Until next time, keep showing up and keep sharing what matters.